So, how do you recognize people in cybersecurity in a way that rivals Hollywood? I got four words for you. SANS Difference Makers Awards. We're giving you an exclusive sneak peek into the 2024 Difference Makers Awards that you can only get here at Hacker Valley Media. Without further ado, run the intro.
Who says tech can't be human?
What's going on, Hacker Valley fam? Welcome back to the show. I am so excited for this live stream because there's something that's always at the top of Hacker Valley mind. We always think about one event throughout the year because it's a great opportunity for us to get together as a team, but it's also a great opportunity for us to do something special for the cybersecurity community, and that's the SANS Difference Makers Awards. We've been working on this award show for pretty much, I would say, since the last one in December, and it's going to be coming to you again this year, December, from Washington, D.C. We're going to talk all about this show and to make this a stream, to really give us some impact, give it a power punch. I brought in a special guest and friend, Dave Kennedy, founder of Binary Defense and also TrustedSec. What's going on, Dave? Welcome back.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's a total pleasure and a huge fan of the DMA, the Difference Makers Awards, and look forward to chat about this today. It'd be great.
Let's jump right in. I always am curious about someone's first experience with being recognized for something special or something important, something impactful. Every award that I get that I have over here, it means something different. And I didn't realize how important awards were until I started getting them. But Dave, curious for you, has there ever been a moment in your life or career where, you were recognized and it really made an impact on you?
Well, I can honestly say the DMA award in 2022 was a huge piece. I mean, I think you folks do a really good job of highlighting some amazing people that are doing some awesome things in this industry. And you look at this industry itself. I mean, it's relatively new in general. I mean, in comparison to a lot of other industries that are out there. And you have some folks that are just really innovative. They're paving their own path forward, but they have the same mission of making the world a safer place. And being able to highlight those individuals, whether it's in education or podcasting or influencing or lifetime achievements, like there's so many different aspects I think to the DMA that really excited me. And honestly, it's one of the highlights of my career, being able to go up and accept that award up on stage. So one of the most memorable ones that I had. The other one I can probably say is when I got a Navy Achievement Medal for my service in Iraq. We had led a lot of the intelligence-related missions during the major insurgency components. And I was head of basically getting all the electronic evidence that was in Iraq and interpreting that from a forensics analysis perspective. And I was one of the very first Marines in my battalion to get 2 Navy Achievement Awards at that time for the service I did over there. So 2 highlights, but hey, that's a pretty high bar where DMA is up there with wartime awards from being able to help and impact and save lives, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure it's kind of synonymous, when it comes to the effort and putting your life out there for what you were doing in the military. Because I think that in a way, less violent, less dangerous for us in cyber, but I think, there's still a lot that we're sacrificing. We're sacrificing a lot of time with families, especially those incident responders out there. Even for me, the time and attention that I put into our content, our show, I do give a lot of time up. I had to fight to go to the gym yesterday because there was a lot of people buying for time. But, being recognized and getting a thank you or getting a nomination, getting a vote, I think it could really set a lot of pieces in place for you to continue to show up with that same level of desire and passion.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, a lot of people think of jobs as going to work 9 to 5, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't really necessarily care about an impact. They care about going in, doing their job, coming home to family and friends, and that is perfectly fine. Like that is a great mindset to have and to be, there with your families and everything else. Then you have a different cut of folks that are driven by a mission and they believe in that mission and they go above and beyond what that is. And it's not just in cybersecurity. You have countless stories in the military and hospitals during COVID and a lot of other things, right? Where you just have people that excel and go and give everything they possibly can, to that mission. And I think, when you look at the Difference Makers Awards, it's those people that have done something different that they're not being told to do from their 9 to 5. It's something that they dedicated their careers to. And believe me, I don't want to diminish, everybody out there. There's folks that don't make the DMAs that are doing amazing things as well too, and eventually, hopefully you get to be recognized as well. It's one of those things where I think, highlighting excellence in our industry, highlighting, folks that are coming in, diversity that's in our industry itself, a very different industry than it was 25 years ago. It's amazing to see the growth of this industry, but it's most impressive to see the brilliant minds that we have in this industry day in and day out, creating, paving, doing something different that no one has ever else done before, and having that difference to be recognized for the pain, suffering, and agony that you had to go through to get there.
So let's go ahead and take a look at a preview of last year, and I want to jump into the nominations and the categories. But first, let's take a look at the preview of last year.
You see exactly what's going on tonight, but it's a whole different game today. It's really neat.
Continue to solve problems, continue to work hard, and find your niche, and find your people, and find mentors.
Inspiring others to believe that they can do this work is what we need to get more people interested in doing this work.
It's all about helping community. And for me, it's helping others and helping community and forging the next generation of hackers that are out there. And Kevin did that with me.
Set this up. We said, look, let's go out to the community. Let's find out the heroes that are truly making a difference.
If that doesn't do it for you, making you want to go to the DMAs, I don't know what's going to help.
You stole my thunder. I'm like, if that doesn't get you jazzed up here, I don't know what does, because that was such a cool event. And I mean, you folks put on a great show. Like, it actually felt like I was in like some sort of Hollywood scenario setting, where a bunch of computer nerds are getting recognized. It was so cool. I had such a good time, and it was great to see everybody and so many amazing people that got the awards last year.
I did not know that you and Mitnick were so close, and sounds like he was a mentor to you.
Kevin is actually, Kevin and Chris Nickerson in general are the two main factors and driving forces of why I started TrustedSec. Without them, there would be no TrustedSec. There would be no Binary Defense. I was a chief security officer for a Fortune 1000 company, and I'll tell you the story with Chris. We had hired Chris Laris Consulting to come in and do a pen test for us. And Chris, of course, does what Chris does and breaks into everything and gets access. And he's like, Dave, you should be making a lot more money. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, just trust me. You should be making a lot more money with what you do here. He's like, you should go start your own company. And I talked to Kevin. And, Kevin, I'll tell you where I first met Kevin. Kevin was a hero of mine in the 90s and throughout the military. I appreciated his drive. Like, if you talk about Kevin's personality, he was somebody that was just so driven at cybersecurity. It was an obsession for him. Like, if anybody knows Kevin, like, he would, let's just say you have a 2-week engagement. That's all you have. The customer's only paying for 2 weeks, 80 hours. Kevin would spend 6 months on that company if he had to, until he broke into every single aspect. He didn't care about the money. He didn't care about making, he just cared about, that drive and making that company better. And I had released the early version of the Social Engineer Toolkit. And I get this email from, Kevin Mitnick, and it says, hey, man, really like what you're doing with the Social Engineer Toolkit. Appreciate that. Nice job. I'm like, wait a minute. Is that Kevin Mitnick, like the one that I knew from the 90s and on TV, the most notorious, most #1 wanted hacker in the world? And I responded back. I'm like, hey, thanks, man. By the way, huge fan. He's like, hey, give me a call. Here's my cell. And I call him.
What?
And yeah. He's like, give me a call. And I was like, okay. And him and I shared the same drive and passion. Like, I would not stop or quit at anything that I was doing. I would be programming on airplanes, at hotel rooms. I'd program, 3 days straight without sleeping because I was just obsessed about what I was doing. And so Kevin and I really hit it off very well, and he became one of my best friends. I learned a lot from him. He was a mentor of mine, both, his technical prowess. Like, people don't realize Kevin, up until his last days, he passed away last year from pancreatic cancer. Up until his last days, he was the most sharp and technical person I have ever met in my entire life. In fact, 2 weeks before he passed, he was in the hospital and he was like, hey man, can you get me this new cracking list that you guys have over at TrustedSec and a hard drive? I'm gonna come swing by. And he drove by my house out of the hospital to get this hard drive. And I, took him around in my DeLorean and everything. And unfortunately 2 weeks later he passed. But like, up until his last day, all he thought about was his family and cybersecurity. And we became just amazing friends. Would always hang out with each other, go visit each other, just not just at DEF CON, but just as friends. And one funny story I'll share with on Kevin is, I was in Vegas for DEF CON, and he calls me up and he's like, hey man, I got tickets to Aerosmith. You want to go? I'm like, sure, sounds good. He didn't tell me he was best friends with the guitarist's son, and I had band member badge access. And I got to party with Aerosmith, like before the show, hang out with them on their bus, on stage, like everything else. I'm like, Kevin, were you going to tell me like we're going to hang out with the band? He's like, no, I just want to see what your reaction was because I thought it'd be cool. That's just the type of person he was. Like, just wanted to create happiness for people. He was always approachable. Like, if you saw him at a conference, he would never just be like, oh, I'm Kevin, get away from me. He was like, oh, hey, nice to meet you, pleasure. He'd hand out his cards and, his business cards and lockpicks and get people, handshakes and hugs, and just an amazing human being that really forged my career in cybersecurity. Huge inspiration for me. And I attribute a lot of my success in this industry specifically to Kevin Mitnick. And it was amazing to give the award last year, to give the speech for his award, for him, because he had passed away. And I'll tell you, I don't get nervous speaking or on the news. I do the news all the time, no issue, speaking in front of thousands of people. That is the most nervous I've ever been in my entire life, going up on stage to represent Kevin Mitnick, because how do you get up on stage, and he received the Lifetime Achievement Award both from the SANS votes as well as the community and the industry. And it was just one of those special moments where I didn't want to mess it up. And, I was super nervous, and I had talked to his wife and, ahead of time, and I was just, really nervous about it, but went up and gave it. And it was such a huge honor to be able to represent, one of my best friends.
That is amazing. I actually got goosebumps as you're telling the story, because that is a huge responsibility. Even if I had to present your word, someone that I look up to. I love the social engineering toolkit, by the way. That's a throwback. That's a huge major claim to fame, but also all the work that you're doing now. Presenting an award for anyone is a huge responsibility, but to do it for the most prolific hacker, I mean, that's just taking it up a notch.
Yeah. And it's funny. Like, I still, I went to Kevin's funeral, and they had a picture of him in the pamphlet, and the pamphlet still sits in my closet. My changing room, my closet, every time I get up in the morning and I see Kevin there. Sometimes it's kind of weird because I'm changing. I'm like, hey, Kevin, sorry, buddy. But I know you're looking down above. But, it's a refresher. It's a reminder to me every day to see Kevin and remember what impact he had on my life. And, in Kevin's, one example, but there's so many other people too that have had a huge impact on my career that have been highlighted in the DMA awards, have either been nominees or won. You look at the newcomers that are coming out there that are just, like folks that are just starting in this industry that have made a huge impact. You look at John Hammond, for example, incredible human being, like amazing speaker. I'm a huge fan of him and what he does and how he breaks down complex situations and gives that information out to everybody else and what he does. These folks are just absolutely brilliant, changing this industry and continue to change the industry. And, SANS to me is the only event, the DMA Awards is the only event that I've seen that highlights that type of excellence in this industry.
One of the other things I'll say about the DMAs I think is so important is there's no payment required. A lot of other award shows, you got to put your credit card on the line to nominate and then to vote. And then it kind of makes me, curious in my mind, who's the one nominating people? It's got to be self-nomination. But this is, goes beyond just the opportunity to win an award for yourself, because anyone can nominate and anyone can vote.
Yeah, and from the I'm on the advisory board for helping to do the votes for folks on the SANS side. And I spend a lot of time. I take this very seriously. There's a lot of things I don't take seriously in life, and this is one of those ones where I'm like, okay, I need to dedicate several hours a day to understanding who these individuals are. And if I haven't heard their name before, it doesn't mean that they're not doing amazing things. And I don't want to discredit that, right? And so I spend a lot of time going to their social media profiles, listening to their podcasts, understanding what they've done and contributed, so that when I'm voting, it's not because of somebody that I recognize as a name. It's somebody that is, their work, what they do every single day in and day out, are contributing to making this industry better. And I think that the DMA awards, both from the community aspect and the SANS voting side, is such a great balance around that, of how you highlight excellence in this industry.
So let's do a little bit of housekeeping. By the way, this is a completely live session, so be sure to drop into the chat where you're joining from. And if you're enjoying this, please give it a heart. Share it with someone that you think would enjoy this stream and also benefit from either voting for someone or being voted for. This is a great thing to share. We have quite a few people on the live stream. Wanted to say what's going on to everyone. I see that we got Emmanuel here. We got Rich here as well. Let me bring up a comment from Rich. Rich Green from SANS. He said that he wants to go to the gym with you.
You weren't going to highlight it. I was going to. Rich, absolutely. Anytime you want to go to the gym, let me know. I'll be happy to work out. And that goes for anybody. Anyone wants to go hit the gym while I'm in Vegas or you're in Cleveland, let me know. I got some good spots here. I have my own personal gym in my house, so love getting the weights in every day. Today was a push day, so it was chest and triceps and shoulders today. So.
And Emmanuel, who's joining here as well, he's part of ISSA. He actually is, I think, the vice president of the Silicon Valley chapter. And I bring that up because I was just at the Central Ohio ISSA, and I'm mad that I didn't text you because I completely forgot for a second that you're in Ohio.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a Polish dish that I guess is very popular in Ohio that I told my wife, she's Polish. I did not know that you all were famous for your pierogies.
Pierogies, yes. Pierogies are this amazing delicacy, and there's this it's called the Pierogi Lady that's in Cleveland. That it's a small, tiny building, and it's this old grandma and her family that makes these pierogies, and they can only ship to a certain location because they don't have refrigerated trucks and everything. But it's like a dumpling, basically, like a potato dumpling with potatoes inside and cheese. You could put other things in it, like sauerkraut and other stuff. They're gluten and everything. But the traditional pierogies just basically, the dumpling with potatoes and cheese, and it's definitely we always cook it with some onions on top, and then we'll have it with like steaks, so we'll have steaks and pierogies and some veggies, and it's our favorite family dish that we have over here. So, and I actually used. So whenever I'm on the news, like if I'm doing like CNN or Fox or MSNBC or CNBC, a lot of times I'll do what's called a challenge word, and I let folks on social media pick a word that I have to say on TV, and sometimes they're the crazy ones. Like I've had to say meow 4 times on a show before, and I've done it, and I do it. And one of them was pierogi. And so I was on CNBC a couple weeks ago, and I did majestic pierogies.
Majestic, that was it.
That's the challenge word. So I was like, all right, majestic pierogies it is. So, I influx that in, but pierogies are definitely a good Cleveland dish here.
I love that. I can't wait to try them out there. So let's go ahead and jump into how all of this works. I think we could, start with the nomination categories. So what I have up here is a list of all the categories. We have article or book of the year, people's champion of the year, diversity champion, innovation of the year, and there's a good list of categories. Some people that have been nominated for these categories that are finalists, you probably already know them or have seen them on social. Like Emmanuel said, that one of the great ways to start making an impact on the industry is by submitting talks to conferences. Dave, I think maybe one of the first times I ever seen you, I don't know if I met you at this conference, was DerbyCon. Very popular, and just putting yourself out there, going to these conferences or speaking to someone that you may or may not know, I think things like that go a long way and also get you recognized. So whenever you are nominated or see someone, there's that point of connection there.
Yeah, and you mentioned DerbyCon, and a lot of folks will be like, well, how do I ever get myself on a list like this? And the truth of the matter is that, I remember my very first conference. It was DEF CON, and I was in the military. And so I would guess I was a Fed, so you had to do spot the Fed. But I was at Alexis Park, and I remember seeing, Cult of the Cows and the Shmoo group. And I remember, seeing Bruce Potter up on stage in the Shmoo group. And they had created this UPS that, was basically a C2. So you'd plug it into a corporation, you impersonate somebody, physical social engineering, plug it into UPS, send a backdoor back to your command and control. I'm like, these guys are amazing. Like, this is amazing. You got Fedor with Nmap and, all these like giants that were really forging the early parts of this industry. And I said to myself, there's no way I will ever be in the same category as these legends, right? Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is that, you can be anything you want to be as long as you have that passion and hobby to go and do it. And that's why at DerbyCon we had a new to InfoSec speaking track. And you couldn't have the rule was you couldn't have given a presentation before, and that was a call for paper submissions. And I'll tell you, some of the best presentations I've ever seen came from that new to InfoSec track, because those are stories from people that are just coming into this industry that have a whole different view and perspective of things that I've never seen before, right? I'm used to the old school C and C++, and now you have all these new, object-oriented programming languages and Rust and Go, and different ways of doing things, and people that have just lived in the cloud, whereas I've been predominantly on-prem. And so you have all of these different folks that have different views and perspectives, but also if you look at the newer generation, they're freaking wicked smart. Like, they're way smarter than me, right? Way smarter than I will ever be, right? Because they're immersed with technology since they were kids. We didn't have all this stuff. I had a Teddy Ruxpin, which, I remember tearing apart and trying to put it back together and stuff like that. But, like, wicked smart new generation of kids that are coming through this industry. And my best advice to you is, if you can make cybersecurity your hobby, it's something you enjoy doing, whether it's tearing apart hardware or figuring out software glitches or, being a voice of spreading, stories that you've learned and lessons, you can absolutely build upon what other folks have done and create new ways of doing things in the future that you can be, a Fedor or a Bruce Potter or a Kevin Mitnick or, an HD Moore or whomever, right? Ed Scotus, one of my top favorite folks in this industry. I love Ed. It's those types of things, but being genuine, sharing information, collaborating, helping the community out, helping the industry out, making the world a better place. If you have those objectives, anything is possible in this industry, which is amazing to anybody.
So, question for you. We're looking at these categories: Rising Star, Podcast, Innovation, Diversity Champion, People's Champion, Article or Book. If you were at the beginning of your career, or towards the beginning, which one would you want to be nominated for? Like, thinking back to, your early times at conferences.
Man, I'd probably say Rising Star, because, it's one of those things where you're getting recognized as being somebody that's innovative and early on in their career, right? And the sky is the limit, right? So it kind of validates the track that you're on and path that you're on, right? And I think, I remember when I was a kid, I came from an inner city school, low income, and I helped build their cybersecurity program there now. So, we actually take in kids from that school and have full paid internships. They have K-12 cybersecurity programs there. I built their esports gaming facilities, created 22 scholarship opportunities a year for the schools there. I had no idea that it was possible to be successful, because I wasn't handed those tools where I was at. There was no STEM programs. There was no, it was just you were expected to go into, a job where you're going to be making minimum wage and that was going to be your life, right? And I think, when you start to get into things like cybersecurity and understand that anybody here, doesn't matter what your background is or where you come from, you can make a stamp on this industry regardless. It doesn't, like, we hire kids all the time that don't have college degrees, because they don't need college degrees, because they're brilliant, they're smart.
Yeah.
You can break a cycle and be successful if you have that passion and drive. And I think the Rising Star Award is validation of that early on. That is that gasoline to a very small fire that helps motivate you even more. And, where I remember having kind of my first Rising Star moment is when I joined the Backtrack development team and the Exploit DB development team. I was good friends with Mutz and the whole crew of offensive security. It was really early on, before they became Kali Linux and offensive security. There was no offensive security. It was just remote exploit. And it was just a group of hackers that were continuously, playing around and having fun. And we all got together and, created Backtrack Linux, right? And then from there, Mutz obviously expanded that and did amazing work with offensive security and creating the OSCP and everything else. One of the most technically, crazy ones out there. And then, obviously SANS has been there since the very beginning. I remember my first SANS degree or my first SANS course, it was the GSEC. And I had to write the white paper to get the GSEC Gold. And that was one of the most memorable experiences I had because I was just coming into this industry. And I think my GSEC Gold paper was on the evil twin attack, and it hadn't been done before. And it was like this new white paper on doing the evil twin attack. And it got all this validation. I got my GSEC Gold. And that to me was like my rising star moment where I first got my GSEC Gold. And I was on the backtrack development team. And I was starting to have some success in this industry where I didn't know if that was going to be possible for me to do because there were so many amazing people here. To me, the SANS GSEC Gold was like that moment of like, hey, what I'm doing is actually working.
Love that. That's amazing. I want to take a quick second to just inform people on how they can vote, right? So it's very easy. And by the way, we have the Rising Star nominees up here on the screen. We have one of the nominees on the stream, Rich Green. Shout outs to you, Rich. Great job. But it's very easy. So we'll drop a link into the chat. It's we simplified the link so you can't get it wrong. If you go to hackervalley.com/vote now, it will take you to this page. And all you have to do is input a few different pieces of information, your first name, last name, and your email address. And then that's when you can jump into the voting. So you pick the categories that you pick the people that you're gonna vote for based off of the categories, and then you hit next. And then it's that easy. We try to make it as simple as possible. Big shout outs to the SANS team for putting this together, this piece especially, but also hosting the event. SANS and Hacker Valley, we work on this together, but SANS does a lot of the heavy lifting. They're the ones organizing it, finding sponsors, acquiring the guests, and making sure that everyone has that opportunity to be recognized, not just virtually, but in person. We bring everyone that is a winner, along with some others that, to the event for them to celebrate and enjoy the night. The night is special. There's some great food. There's a lot of drinks. And there's just a lot of people there in and around the event that you don't necessarily see in the videos that are there in the audience and, celebrating that special night with everybody.
It's awesome.
Yes. All right. So one more topic I wanted to cover with you, Dave, sponsorship. You sponsor a lot of things. Having two companies, I don't know how you have the time because I know that you still have that technical bug within you. You probably still code a lot, but you have to find time to sponsor. And I think that there's two ways I look at sponsorship. One, it's a great way to put your company and your business out there so people know more about it. But it's also a great way to give back and, do something good for the community. So for anyone that is interested in sponsoring the DMAs, a company, maybe there's an executive, what are your considerations? What goes through your mind when, investing in sponsoring for an event like this?
So first of all, we sponsored the DMA before and continue to, which is great. I think, when you look at events, right, you have conferences all across the country, and it's always difficult to differentiate yourself against the person next to you or across the way from you, right? Especially when you get into larger conferences like, Black Hat and RSA and everything else that's out there. When you look to me, I've always had the philosophy that if I continue to contribute and help the community will help me back, right? And good karma creates good karma. And what more of a positive event can you have than recognizing some of the most amazing folks in our industry? That's positivity tenfold in this industry. So, having your name associated to something like that, when there isn't, by the way, a ton of sponsorship opportunities. It's not like there's like 500 sponsorship opportunities. There's probably like 20. You stand out much more different than anybody else because it's more so about the community and recognizing excellence than it is about going to an event and trying to get leads and generate leads. Right? You will generate leads inherently from the DMA awards because you're doing positive things for the industry. We had a lot of success with that and continue to because it's such a great event and you're just doing the right thing and good things happen to good people and good things, reciprocate that same way. So I think, for me, sponsorship to the DMA is personally an amazing event, and I tell that to my my sales folks and my marketing teams. And I think it's something that you folks at Hacker Valley continue to have a great brand reputation on how you put that event on together and everything, and then also really how the whole event goes. It couldn't be a better event to sponsor, to be honest with you.
Love to hear that.
The drinks award.
If you know someone, if you work for a company that's interested in getting your name out there, but also doing something special for people, be sure to check out the SANS Difference Makers Awards. It's very easy to find the website. You can just go to Google, type in SANS DMAs. It'll be the first result.
Well, I'll tell you, Ron, I can still recall the sponsors from 2 years ago that were at my event, right? Because it was such a special moment for me at that event. Like, again, you'd ask, like, what are the two most memorable moments, or what are the most memorable moments I've had from an award perspective? One of them was the Navy Achievement Medal in the Marines, and the other one was being recognized at the amongst my peers at the Difference Maker Award. So those folks will remember people that believed in them as you go through, and these are the top folks in the industry that are continuously paving the way forward. What better event to go and do it, right?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I hope that, anyone that works at a company that, is looking for sponsorship opportunity does consider this. Wanted to give two very important dates out there to the audience. The first one is voting closes on Friday. If you're a finalist, be sure to share that vote link. If you are interested in voting for someone, be sure to go and vote by this Friday. That is October 4th. And the second date, very important, the SANS Difference Makers Awards. It's going to be hosted in Washington, D.C. It's December 13th. But worry not, it's also going to be live streamed on YouTube and LinkedIn. So you'll be able to enjoy and celebrate and watch the event just like all of us there in person or even virtually. Dave, I wanted to give you the opportunity to do one more call to action. You're taking some time out of your busy day. Feel free to take a second to talk about TrustedSec, what you all are doing and how anyone that's tuning in live can stay up to date with you and all your amazing work.
Yeah, thanks very much for that. Both companies are doing great. We just got announced the #1 leader in cybersecurity consulting through Forrester, which is really cool. So literally got placed #1. A company I started in the basement of my house with 4 months of rent in the bank to being able to provide security services to folks and help people out has been an amazing blessing for me, and the team that we have here is just amazing. We continue to release papers and tools, and we're coming out with a really cool new one soon. I can't talk about it. It's still under embargo at the moment, but nice new 0 day once it gets fixed. But we're also doing a lot of great stuff in the community. If you look at what we were able to do with Bedford High School, I've taken a position as a board member on Paradigm Cyber Ventures, not-for-profit, that's working on K-12 curriculum for schools. They're in 10 states now, and I think over 50 schools where they offer 10th grade to 12th grade cybersecurity programs for kids. So that they can start to learn cybersecurity as an elective, and it counts towards college, which is great, or don't go to college and go right into cybersecurity, which is amazing. So having them here, we teach the kids over there all the time. They come to our places here. So, just trying to help people out the best way that I know how to, through what I know best, which is cybersecurity. And both our companies, both my companies, Binary Defense and TrustedSec, we continue to help out in every way we possibly can and get recognized for that, which is great. You can always check us out. We have a weekly weekly podcast that's out. It's the TrustedSec Security Podcast. And some great folks run that. I'm on there from time to time. And Hacking Your Health Podcast, which is the fitness and health side of things. We just released a supplements brand. So we have a new protein and a pre-workout that is science-driven and really awesome. We have a lot of good feedback from the community and industry on that. Just having fun doing things that I'm passionate about, that I can make a difference in. And again, the mission of making the world a safer place. Every day I wake up trying to do more and more and more and help more people out the best that I can. And that's built into both our cultures at TrustedSec and Binary Defense. How can we help people out the most, that really need it? And we continue to do that. So I appreciate it. And obviously, thanks for having me on here. So many good folks have been nominated this year. It was a tough selection process because there's so many good things. See Gene Spafford's name up there recognized, for Lifetime Achievement Awards amongst others. It's just awesome to see this event come together, its prominence and how it continues to kind of forge the next generation of cyber leaders as well is awesome.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much for spending some time out of your busy day, jumping on the stream with me and the audience. Dave, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you follow Dave, follow TrustedSec, follow Binary Defense, all of it. And don't forget the 2 important dates, October 4th for voting to be closed, and also correction on my live stream date for the DMAs itself is December 15th. Luckily, the team is in the chat keeping me honest. So with that, we will see everyone next time.